Some of these critics, these pundits.
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
I'd like to play the hard man when they're on it. It's not very pleasant when you're trying to manage a team. All you're looking for is a bit of civility and a bit of decency, but they just miss you like you know, you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
Who is that at the start giving out about these critics, these pundits? Do you know?
Oh, God, it's like a quiz question now where you just heard the voice and it's ringing a bell. Pundits giving out. Oh, it's not Tommy Walsh, is it?
Don't think so.
No, it's in that general wheelhouse of Midlands/Kilkenny accent, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. You seem to be suggesting bad stuff about that accent, and you know, a lot of us are drawn to it.
It's definitely a hurling accent. It's not a football accent.
Okay. Well, we've already got off to a controversial start. Where are we starting now?
Sorry for causing offence. Number 32 is Waterford. They stay put. They lost to Leitrim at the weekend. Number 31 is Carlow, also staying put. Wicklow dropping down to 30th this week. They're staring down the barrel of relegation back to Division 4. They beat Cavan last year in that playoff, which was a surprise, but it's been all downhill for them since then, and they're going to be playing their football, I'd suspect, in Division 4 once again next year, despite a decent result in round 2 against Fermanagh when they got a draw. Wexford take their place in one of the higher reaches. They're up to 29th. Tipperary finally got a win at the weekend. They beat Sligo, a big win for them. Leitrim in 27th after their win against Waterford. London, their first defeat at the weekend of the season, I should say. They lost to Wexford at the weekend, and then Sligo, as I say, they also suffered their first defeat of the season. They lost to Tipperary. Division 4 is chaotic, and it's very, very hard to put a really fine order on it.
That's good, though. It should be chaotic.
I guess the thing is that those teams are up there in that order, which means that is the correct order, and because they seem to be appearing in my power rankings. So I guess that's that.
More important than the actual league tables, of course.
100%.
You have established this.
In 24th position is Longford, who are back a little bit. They lost to Fermanagh by 7 points at the weekend. Fermanagh leapfrogging them. They're in 23rd. They've had a bit of a mixed season. They started the campaign by losing to Antrim by 9 points, but that win against Longford at the weekend, maybe a little bit back on track at the moment. Antrim, they drew with Laois at the weekend. They're 22nd, and Limerick have been one of the stories of the year so far.
Look, Antrim are looking at Division 2 football next season.
Yeah.
If they make it, that is one of the great managerial achievements, I would say, of any era. Like, you come into a situation where there has been nothing, no progress, no sustained ability to go on a run, no winning of games. Like, if their record in the Ulster Championship is one of the all-time great losingest things in world sport, like, was there a decade where they didn't win a single match? I think there was.
There might have been, and do you know what it's going to be? It's going to be Enda McGinley versus Mickey Hart to determine who might go up with Limerick from that division. I think Westmeath and maybe even and Laois and Fermanagh, it's again another chaotic division, will have something to say about that. But at the moment, Antrim and Louth both on 5 points behind Limerick on 6. And Antrim and Louth haven't played each other, so that's going to be a hell of a matchup. I see Enda McGinley got sent off at the weekend, so he's really thrown his lot in with Antrim. They've been brilliant over the last little while, but I do think Louth are a team to watch in that division at the moment.
Not to overstate things, but the hurlers should have beaten Waterford at the weekend. The last minute penalty saved, right? That was the Waterford team that I was like number one in the power rankings. If Limerick get turned over again, it's time for us to really think about this Waterford team and the way they're going. And then obviously Galway got turned over, so probably Wexford are pretty close to it. I mean, we were kind of slagging off the power rankings from the hurling pod, going, you put Wexford at the top, but actually they were bloody good.
Yeah.
And so you can justify it. So Waterford are going really well. The Antrim hurlers are actually going quite well. The Antrim hurlers and the Antrim football is going well simultaneously, and the prospect of Casement getting redeveloped, it would be like finally this massive power base is being awakened. And we might see some good stuff in the future. Look at you with your smug face.
No, I'm actually not smug at all. I'm actually just smiling. I'm happy for you.
Patronising.
I'm happy for you. Kildare football is going well. Antrim going well as an institution. I mean, that's all, they're all your.
What more could you look for?
They're all your pies and your fingers.
My meaty fingers. What a lovely image you've given the good people this morning as they choke on their breakfast, Eoin.
Limerick in at number 21. They beat Wicklow at the weekend. This looked like an absolutely chaotic game. Second half, black cards for Ian Corbett and Josh Ryan for Limerick, and also Limerick's Brian O'Donovan was sent off in that second half alone. Hugh Burke has been one of their stars of the league so far. He kicked another 4 points at the weekend. So Limerick going very strong in that division. Laois down a spot in 20th. I do think that their league position is lying a little bit. I think they'll be in with a promotion push, but they're slipping a little bit at the moment, to say the least. Their draw at Antrim at the weekend. Louth, already touched on that. They were in at 19th. I think they're a real shout of getting promoted at this point. Sam Mulroy with another 11 points. Like 2 excellent wins back to back. They beat Limerick a couple of weeks ago, or last week, and then they beat Westmeath by 2 points at the weekend. So they've recovered well from that opening day defeat to Laois. Offaly are in at number 18 then. See, Will O'Callaghan was leading the charge on social media last night of the sense of injustice after that late Meath goal, which they reckon was a square ball. That game ended up in a draw. It probably would have been a situation of strapping this Offaly team to a rocket in the power rankings had they actually beaten Meath, or had they actually got one of these wins so far, but it just hasn't happened for them. The game against Galway the previous week was postponed, and then they had defeats to Clare and Derry so far. Cork staying put really at 17th at the moment. It's just hard to see who you put above them at the moment, that despite the fact that they lost to Galway comfortably at the weekend. Westmeath are down to 16th. I get a lot of abuse for my love affair with Westmeath so far this year, but John Heslin, a bit of a one-man team for them at the weekend in that loss to Louth. He kicked 110 in that match. Cavan are up to 15th. I think there's no question about who the best team in Division 4 is at the moment, and I'm not sure has a Division 4 team ever been as high as 15.
I'm nitpicking here, right? If Cavan were to play down in the first round of the Ulster Football Championship, who would you make as favourites?
Down.
I mean, you wouldn't though, really.
Down did draw with Meath. I know Meath aren't in amazing shape a couple of weeks ago.
This is one of the worst Meath teams that we've seen. Like, Meath are in danger of not being able to play in Sam Maguire.
I know that, but Meath haven't exactly been beaten in every single game in Division 2 either. They're unbeaten in 2 games. Let's not forget that.
Okay. Fairness, Galway are pretty good, but they beat them out the gate. It wasn't close.
And Roscommon was their defeat.
Yeah.
Who are possibly going to be the 2 teams that get promoted.
Yeah, Roscommon also beat them out the gate. I just think that. So I think this is really important, and this is one of the things that was completely missed by the idiotic rejection of the original proposals. Cavan's surge of confidence from winning games in Division 4 should give them an opportunity ahead of a team like Down, who are in free fall.
Oh, listen.
Right? I actually think that in the Championship, you're going to see, if those 2 teams were to come up against each other, that Cavan will use the bounce of good quality opposition, which it is. Division 4 is way better than it used to be, and winning games. That's why those teams deserve their opportunity. That's all that was about.
Now listen, it is close. It's very, very close. I just want to see, I know that they don't care about this one bit, I kind of want to see one sort of signature win from Cavan in Division 4. They're winning the games by 4, 5, 6 points at the moment. It doesn't matter though, they're winning the games. They probably know before the ball is thrown in that they've got a good chance of winning the games. There's no point in hammering anybody.
And they all take on a life of their own, don't they? If you got five points up, you kill the game as opposed to...
True, and conditions no doubt in 3 of those games. Well, I suppose they've only played 3 games. Their third one was postponed.
The draw is Antrim Cavan, and then the winners of that play Donegal Armagh. So
okay.
Cavan are going to have a good opportunity. You'd make Cavan favourites against Antrim from the basis of tradition, even though...
You're watching that game, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm getting my VPN for BBC that day.
And the winners of Donegal Armagh, that could be either team at this stage. Armagh slight favourites, I suspect, on the day. I don't know where that's going to be, but you would make the winners of Donegal Armagh 5-point favourites over Antrim Cavan. 5 to 7 point favourites. Yes,
yeah, you would. Now, in fairness, I'm not completely shooting down the whole our Cavan better than Down thing, but I'm edging Down just at the moment. I'd love to see it.
Well, here's the thing: we won't see it because the only way we'd see it is in an Ulster final, and that unfortunately ain't going to happen. We might see it in the qualifiers.
Meath are in at 13th. They drew it Offaly at the weekend, as we've already mentioned.
Hard to be putting Meath up at this time of year when they need a last gasp goal to draw.
Well, it's Westmeath dropping. I've plundered Westmeath.
Why did Westmeath? What was the Louth hammered them?
No, they beat them by 2 points only at the weekend. But I think it's a more
they're a division lower.
They're a division lower, and losing in Division 3 is more costly, and it should have them lower than drawing a game in Division 2. That's and maybe I did
Louth Meath play in Championship. What's the spread?
Meath -3.
I think it's Meath -1, and I'm not sure who I'm backing.
Depends where the game is on, I guess. in Park Talton, you'd have to give Meath a heavy chance of winning that. But yeah, no, I think Meath minus a couple of points in that one. Clare in at 12. They lost to Derry at the weekend. Derry looking like they're definitely going to get promoted at this point. Roscommon are in at 11. Derry, as I mentioned, they're at number 10. And Galway at 9. Is that correct? Yep.
No, what
yes,
did you
it
want?
is. Yes,
what,
that is correct. No, the screen is correct. The
yeah,
screen is
okay.
correct. I just didn't change the numbers on my actual word stock here. No, the order is absolutely spot on. I just didn't change the numbers beside them.
Galway kicked 322 last week in one game. Milesy was on yesterday saying he thinks Meath have scored roughly 40 points so far in the league, and Galway did it in one game nearly. They did 3/4 of it in one game.
This is what I was very tempted to bring Galway into the top 8 this week and drop Monaghan down to 9th. But
You would have done it if Kildare had been beaten by Dublin. They were straight out, right? You would have put Kildare behind Derry and Galway.
quite possibly.
That was the latter.
I think
as the Dubs marched forward trying to score a goal in the last couple of minutes, you were like,
no, Kildare were behind them
last week.
Yeah, they were. So that's why my numbers are all mixed up, because I forgot that there's actually a team parachuted from that cluster.
Well, I was going to say they're not on page 2 anymore. Where are they?
Right into the top 6. So number 8 is Monaghan. They're down a couple of places into 8th. Dublin are down a couple of places as well into 7th. The last time they lost 5 league championship games on the spin was 1973, and next week Dublin are already looking at permutations to stave off relegation. If they lose and Kildare win, Dublin are going to get relegated with 2 games to spare. Kildare up 4 places to 6th after what I think is a significant win against Dublin. And you may have a load of people who have got long memories coming out of if Kildare lose to Dublin in the championship this year, be like, you boys celebrated too much and all that. But I still think it could go beyond.
Along the way.
It could go beyond that, and I think it's a significant win, and they're rewarded.
It's a rebirth. 6. That's what's happening. Kildare football is back, and it's going to be back for the next decade, because people who really care about it are in charge, and people who are really emotionally invested in what the outcomes are in charge. They've got the lucky mascot of Charlie McCreevy on the bench. I don't know what's going on there, but he's
what is going on there?
I haven't a clue. I don't know if he's like if he's the team treasurer or something. If he's helping them out with making sure that they have all the finance they need. I have not got a clue. I haven't heard the story, and I'm interested in the deep dive about when it happens, about what he's doing on the bench, because it's not like, you know.
Is there any person?
He's not a county board official. It's like he's a lucky mascot. Is there everybody goes over and rubs his head like. Who used to kiss Fabian Barthes's head? Was it Laurent Blanc?
I'm not sure if there's a famous person from Kildare who's been left off this movement over the last little while.
Christy Moore.
Christy Moore, yourself and Joe. That's about it. That's the 3 of you and maybe Ruby. And that's the entire list of Kildare people who aren't involved at some stage with this Kildare team. So they've definitely tapped into everything that they've got going for them.
But that's what you should do.
Oh,
well, I mean, there's obviously they're missing the crowning glory,
which is
Paul Mescal.
Okay.
Like
on the pitch,
they need a shot of Mescal in the crowd in Newbridge to like fully take this to the next level. It's like, come back from wherever you are in the world, Hollywood or London, wherever. Come back just for a few games.
Do you, at what stage do you think Paul Mescal will go to a game? Do you think he's like looking at these results and saying, Leinster final, I'll be alright? Or do you think he's saying to himself, they're winning a lot of games, I want to get in early at championship level?
Well, if you're the county board, aren't you saying come to the final home game of the league season? Because that transforms, that's lit. And
if you're Paul Mescal, what's in it for him?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? You're walking in and it's like there's events on the field and then there's events in the stands. It's like,
but could he saying free entry?
Could he take the Mickey jokes though? I'm not sure he could.
No,
there'd be too many from the wags in the crowd. Maybe he has to wait for his like that he has to work through those issues, you know. An Irish male, very proud of the work that you've done, but also now there to be shot at by your own people.
Does he get brought on at halftime at St. Conleth's Park to wave?
Oh, why not? Like, you know, Katie Taylor with her stuff. Ken Doherty. Does he need an award? Would he have to take out an actual award, or is it like the fact that it was nominated? You know, it's pretty good. It's like it's different.
It's just a €500 pair of Gucci shorts that he holds up and like parades around the park, and that's it.
No, they're like the $10.99.
The $10.99 O'Neill's.
Yeah.
Like he should just.
Does he have to come out in his shorts?
He should just become the Kildare mascot, except the mascot is just a fully togged off lad. Swearing like number 27.
I mean, sorry, that word has multiple. I didn't know which way you meant it. Okay, we're all getting fired.
Yeah, so Kildare up to 6th. Oh gosh.
Who's 5th, Owen?
Donegal are up to 5th. Yeah, they beat Tyrone, but I've left them below Tyrone, which I don't think people will be overly pleased with if they're from Donegal. I watched this game on Saturday night, and I think that there's a case to be made that the second best team won the game on the night. And I think it's just hard to say, if you play this game 10 times and you go from Ballybuffet to Omagh, do Donegal win 6 of them, which is what you would require for them to be put above Tyrone, and I don't think they would. And yes, that takes into account that they're still missing Murphy, but
I don't know how easily he's going to reintegrate into the team. Brawley was saying in his piece in the Sindo, wouldn't it be great if Donegal could play matches in Ballybuffet all the time, because otherwise they're going to be in trouble. He thought that they were not great to watch and kind of very fortunate to win that game, that it looked like Tyrone were going to blow them out. Like, it must have some sort of magic powers, because it did seem midway through the first half that this was not going to go Donegal's way at all. That result was, or that record in Ballybuffet was going to come to an end. And I don't know, like, maybe this is a really significant moment for Donegal, but like it does feel that there have been significant moments in the past with them, because if you think about what the narrative would have been had they lost that game on Saturday, it would have been pretty poisonous, I think. Yeah. Like, I don't think they would have got any forgiveness from anyone if they'd lost that game to Tyrone, if that record had come to an end. But they didn't. So while, I guess to a certain extent, they're not being rewarded by going above Tyrone, I think the manner of them winning a game, while arguably, and I'm not saying I'm right in that, arguably being second best team, I think is it could potentially be a significant result for them. So Tyrone I've kept in at number 4. Armagh staying put at number 3 because they lost to Mayo, and like we were talking about Mayo yesterday on the show, like a really interesting prospect now for the All-Ireland, because they've been so impressive so far in the league. I know they won the league in 2019, but it does feel to me that Mayo are often, relegation candidates and pull it out of the fire at the end, with the exception of 2020 obviously. So it feels like a bit of a change. They look insanely fit, they're seeing out games very well. That Pádraig O'Hora turnover at the end of the game was just another indicator that this is a man possessed at the back, and I think he could take on plenty of the best forwards in the country. Like, you had RF posting that video on Twitter of it's dozens of Mayo people lining up to watch the warm down afterwards, just absolutely mad for football, and like they seem to be almost future proofing as well, rather than just zoning in on 2022. The likes of Sam Callanan and Frank Irwin thrown in from the start. Neither of them had great days at the office for various reasons, but there are new names coming through, while also the old reliables that are performing very, very well. And even Lee Keegan was saying in the aftermath of the match there were 10 lads training on their own in Castlebar the morning of the match. So there is depth in this Mayo team. Yeah. And I'd have themselves and Kerry as the 2 best teams in the country at the moment. They play each other on Saturday week in Tralee, which is going to be a hell of a match. And I would wonder if that's actually going to be the first of 2 meetings in the space of a month. Because they play again in the final. I think so. There's no semi-finals, are there? No semi-finals. Okay. And I think Kerry, in at number 1, really want that league final, because between that league final there's a full month before their Munster semi-final against Cork. Probably not going to be much of a contest. No. Don't want to say that too loudly, but at this juncture doesn't look like it will be. It's going to be an annihilation. And same with the Munster final. Yeah. So Kerry want to limit the amount of weeks that they don't have a competitive match, I think. So Kerry Mayo 1 and 2. From a Cavan fan, that's a very generous ranking for us. We've been very poor in Division 4, says Shane. We'll get the rest of your feedback out in a couple of minutes' time, but that is this week's Emergency Power Rankings.
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.